Howdy my friends, and welcome to the channel today. I'm Luke, Thunderhead289 here on YouTube. In this video today we're going to be talking about carbonators again. And specifically what we're going to look at today is your vacuum secondary carburetor and how to tune your vacuum secondaries. Now a lot of folks just buy a vacuum secondary carburetor, slap it on. They might go through all the typical adjustments, but they might just not be utilizing as much of that carburetor as they possibly could as far as the vacuum secondary timing. So just a little backstory on how vacuum secondaries work is really on most modern day carburetors, there's three types of vacuum that your carburetor is seeing. So you have manifold vacuum, which is just direct from the engine. Your engine is nothing more than a big air pump, and your carburetor works as a valve fighting that air pump. Almost vacuum you can think of as a resistance to flow, and that's why the more you open your throttle, the more your vacuum drops. So manifold vacuum is used for a number of things, power brakes, depending on your engine build, it might be used for timing advance, and that brings us to our second piece. So then ported vacuum is the same thing as manifold vacuum. The only difference is that the port for ported vacuum or timed vacuum is just above your throttle blade setting, so it should not see that vacuum signal at idle. But other than that, once you open that throttle, it's doing the exact same thing as manifold vacuum. Now, when we're talking about vacuum secondaries, the vacuum source that actually pulls that in is what we refer to as venturi vacuum. Now, the way venturi vacuum works is as airspeed increases through the throttle bore, that venturi vacuum signal is going to increase. Now we're all familiar with a sandblaster, okay? So, you have air pressure running through it, and then you have another tube that goes down into your sand. And actually that air going past that port creates a low pressure area and draws that sand up into the nozzle, and that's how your sandblaster works. So that is the exact same thing with venturi vacuum. As airspeed increases past that port, and it's usually located on the primary side of the carburetor, on the passenger side bore, kind of at an angle like such. And basically, as that airspeed increases, it creates a vacuum force that, when it's strong enough, overcomes the spring in your little secondary canister. And then, once you're at that point, your secondaries start to open. Not too crazy. So what you can do with that, and like I said, a lot of folks don't mess with it, and a lot of the modern carburetors today come with a spring set, and basically what you can do is control how much vacuum speed it takes to open up those vacuum secondaries. And I'm a huge advocator for vacuum secondaries on the street, because you're driving a car that's seeing a lot of variable load scenarios, and it's very handy that a vacuum secondary, in a way, only gives the engine the CFM it needs and nothing extra. So you mitigate a lot of the potential for flat spots that you might have here with a double pumper carburetor. Anyway, vacuum secondaries are very forgiving, but we want to get the most out of it that we can. We'll hit the road here and kind of explain that seat of the pants feel that you're looking for. So with that, let's get this thing fired up and roll down the road. And I've dumped gasoline all over my leg. Awesome. Minty. So I got a little stretch of road here in front of me to go ahead and test this out. Like I said, this is a tiny carburetor. This is a 390 CFM. I can probably put the lightest secondary spring in it and never have any ill effects. But right now it should have a standard unit in it, so it'll be good for testing. For the video, kind of elaborating on the seat of the pants feel. And again, the whole reason this is on here is because when I rebuild them, I usually pick a car to test them out on. And like I said, I'm doing 2 of these Holley 390s up to ultimately go on a dual quad intake. So we'll get into second here. I'm gonna load it about 2,000 RPM, and then we'll just see what we have. All right, so I got the hood of the Maverick open here. Let's take a look underneath and see exactly what's going on. All right, so you have to forgive the wire management and everything under the hood of this rig. Originally I bought it as a parts car, and most of this is left over from the previous owner. And it's one of those things that turned into a testing rig and a winter beater. So anyway, we got our cute little Holley 390 carburetor on here, and when I'm talking about the vacuum secondary canister, it's this guy right here. So this is how you can, it's just a dead giveaway that a carburetor is a vacuum secondary. If it's a Holley, they will all have this guy right here. And a lot of folks, a quick tip here, a lot of folks complain that, you know, they think their vacuum secondary isn't opening because they can't feel it. So a really quick trick you can do is you can take a paper clip and bend it around this lever arm here. And then as you can see, when that thing opens up and then retracts, the paper clip is going to be somewhere down the shaft. So if you put a paper clip butted up right here to your vacuum secondary canister, that's a quick way to verify that that is in fact working. So anyway, that little housing there is what holds in the diaphragm and the secondary spring. And there's really not a whole lot to this, guys. It's really just knowing what you're feeling. Now you could tell from our little driving clip where you could hear the secondaries when they opened up. The exhaust tone is going to change, and depending on the scenario, you know, you're going to feel a different response from the engine. Now that response is going to tell you which way you need to go, either a lighter or a heavier secondary spring. And just an easy rule of thumb, you know, if you have a heavy vehicle with a tall rear end, tall gears, you know, a 3-speed automatic or something with a 3-flat rear gear, something like that, you know, depending on your carburetor size, you're probably going to want a heavier secondary spring. Now on the flip side of that, if you have a lighter car, manual transmission, you know, 355 rear gears, maybe you 5-speed swap the thing and you got 373s, whatever, you're going to be able to go with a lighter spring because you're just not loading the engine as much at lower RPM when you snap the throttle open. But getting back to the feel here, you know, if you flog it and then the sound changes and it doesn't really hesitate, it doesn't fall on its face, once you hear that exhaust tone change, it just picks up and runs away, you know, you can experiment probably with a lighter spring. Now on the flip side, if once those secondaries open and it kind of falls on its face when the exhaust note changes, you know, and then it picks back up, you know that probably the secondaries opened too soon. The engine wasn't flowing enough CFM, so when that opened, you just did not have good vacuum signal on your secondaries, and you know, probably a pretty nasty lean bog because a vacuum secondary has no secondary accelerator pump. And then it took a second for the engine RPM to catch up and flow enough CFM for basically what the secondaries were trying to provide to it, and then it moved along down the road. So it's really not too difficult. It's really those two scenarios again, you know, a lighter spring. If you hear that secondary tone come in and it just takes off right away, you know, now you can probably play with a lighter spring. If it bogs and falls on its face, when the secondaries open up, when you hear that exhaust tone change, falls on its face and then picks back up, you know, you probably need to go with a heavier spring. And really that's all there is to it. If you want to get really invasive, you can run a wideband O2, but a lot of this can be easily done on a vacuum secondary carburetor with just simple seat of the pants feel.